So hello, everybody. I don't know if we can move the camera on me, but my name is Mike Robinson, and I'm the program director and also senior lecturer at Hong Kong Baptist U. I am the program director for the Animation Media Arts program. And as you may know, we are going to be changing next year pending approval, but it's pretty certain that to a game design and animation. So I'm here just to talk to everybody who's out there. It looks like we got 58 of you about any questions you might have. Maybe, is it possible for anybody to show your faces on screen? Nope. Okay. Is anybody out there? Could you just say hello? People are saying hi, but they can't turn. Okay. So this information is available on our website. And we don't have a complete curriculum yet. Mostly because we need to make sure it gets final approval. So I could answer any questions that people may have after our presentation. So keep coming to the Academy of Film's website, and eventually you will see information rolling out about the specifics of our program. So for now, what I can tell you is, let's go to our first slide. I'll just briefly do this. So basically our game design animation major, it's a comprehensive curriculum. It's about creative thinking as well as training. We've got a lot of foundation courses in storytelling, visual arts, and creative thinking. And what we'll have is that students can choose to specialize in either game design or animation through a wide range of advanced level courses. So when we get to the second or third year, when you're later in your last 2 years of study, you will start specializing, and you'll take a stream of either game design or animation and take specialized courses. Okay. Again, it is program-based admission. So again, I don't want to reread the JUPAS website. I assume you're familiar with it, but you can submit your application via the JUPAS website. We also have options for people, non-JUPAS students. So that is a fairly straightforward process in terms of how you apply. It follows what you're expecting with the various schools in Hong Kong. Okay, so you can follow up there. So what we do have is an interview, and so the potential candidates will be invited for an interview, and it'll be in essentially an individual and group format. And you'll present your portfolio, and we'll also want to see a letter of intent that states your reasons for applying to the program and your career perspectives after graduation. Again, very short, under 200 words. We also expect a portfolio in digital format, and this can show your potential in creativity. And there are a lot of aspects to that: visual design literacy, animation, and/or game design. So if you have questions about that, I can answer those later, but let me continue on through. So that's our interview format. Oftentimes they go quickly. We have interviews all day. They're similar to, oh, here we go. So it'll be held after the announcement of the HKDSE results. So typically this is at the last week of July or the first week in August. And so typically the format is, I don't know if that's the next slide. Well, let's go back to the previous slide for a moment. But basically the interview format is we usually have about groups of 4 students in about 20 minutes or half an hour each, and each student gets roughly about 5 minutes to show their portfolio and discuss a little bit. So that's the general interview process. Okay, next slide. These are entrance requirements. And also we consider the 5 best subjects. So again, these are more formal notes. I think you can find this on our website, so I don't need to read it to you. And here's the second elective of any of the following subjects. Again, you can find this on our website, or probably the JUPAS website. So there we go. High choice banding. Good results in Chinese language and English are preferred. Again, the medium of instruction in our school is English. So that is an important thing to consider as well. There are a lot of different scholarships for the game design and animation major. So there are a number of students that get a bit of cash. I think that's cash up there. There's awards, there are various honors, and these all happen in various ways. And some of them are for people from more grassroots backgrounds. Others are entirely based on your academic performance, and we generally try to avoid getting one or two high performance students getting all the scholarship money. So we try and distribute these fairly based on academic merit and need and previous awards. But there are a lot of different awards happening. And scholarship, it's not really an award, it's a scholarship. People earn it or qualify for it. Okay. And generally that is the formal part of this presentation. So at this point, I'm here to answer any questions you might have. I'd prefer, it'd be great to just hear people or see them. So let me know what you would like to, any questions you have about the program. Okay. Oop, we can see that. How am I? I'm doing pretty well. I'll do even better when I hear some questions about our program. Okay. Is everybody ready to get admitted? Do you have questions about admission or portfolio or game design and animation? Oh, we got one. May I ask, is there any requirement for the portfolio? That is a seminar not start yet. Okay. The requirement for the portfolio, there's I don't know what, I guess the simple answer is no. The portfolio, what we're looking for is potential, and that can be a lot of different ways. So generally speaking, what we look for is general potential. I would say, now I'm starting to see a lot of questions here. So generally what I'd say is we look for people, if somebody has made an animation project or a game design project and they have some sort of demo that they've made on their own, that's very helpful. I'd say that's definitely something that will give you a head start. So because then we know that you have the patience and the determination to make your own media project. Even if it's rough, even if it doesn't seem professional, that is a huge help. I think sometimes students don't want to make something because they're afraid it won't look professional. They might go on the internet and see like some really sophisticated reels made by other students, but I'd say don't be discouraged and show us what you've done. And that will really help. If you don't have a game design or animation portfolio, I'd suggest that you show visual or other types of creativity. So if you have like a really good sketchbook, or you have like a really interesting sculpture or a good graphic design, that will help as well. Another thing with so that's the part about the portfolio. Okay. Let's see. What is the requirement GPA of non-JUPA students? It is about, the cumulative GPA is about over, let me see here, getting the notes here. It is set about over 3.1. All right. How many program quotas are there? What is the approximate? How many people will get admitted to the program? I don't want to say anything incorrect. All right. About, I think is it 20? I think about 20. We're not sure exactly how many there will be, but roughly 20 quotas. Okay. Let's see. Is it possible to, okay, jumping ahead, I'm going to answer real quickly. Is it possible to put photography or video in the portfolio? So I'm going to answer that question first. Yeah. All right, so I'm doing this a little out of order. So I want to say, yes, you can, but you need to be careful that you are not applying for a, and is it, if it's possible, move the window so I can see my face, that would be great. Okay, if it's possible, I would say be careful about putting only photography or video in there. That's good, but a lot of times what happens in the interviews are we see people that really want to do film and television. And so I would not apply for an animation course if you're really interested in film and video. Now, if because video and game design and animation is a very different skill set than live action. If you're somebody that loves to run around on set, work with actors, and have a camera and be out and about, you may find it very difficult to sit around and click and build stuff in 3D or draw. A lot of animation and game design is really sitting in front of a computer or a drawing tablet by yourself, or working with other people to a degree. So sometimes if people have a lot of photography, or they have a lot of video, it tells me that they're probably better suited for film and television. Not always, but make sure your portfolio has something in addition to that. Okay. Could I further explain the scope of game design? Will it learn design thinking, UX, UI, something like that? Okay. Game design thinking will involve some amounts of, again, this is very broad. And my background is more in animation than game design. But we do have, because we have animation and media arts, we have a lot of issues with programming, how to design well is in addition. So I think some of the topics like UX and UI will be covered in game design in the upcoming classes. You will learn design thinking. Our current students do learn design thinking. I teach a motion graphics course, and so we get into a lot of design thinking. I would say it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're really interested in app development and graphic design, this program may not have enough UX and UI for you. I can't say for sure that, because I don't know exactly what you're interested in, but we're not like a design school where you're doing mobile applications or web design. It does overlap with that in game design. You will get some AI and UX. I'm sorry, or UX and user interface design. But I can't say it would be the focus. You need to determine if that's the right amount of focus for you. So you may look at a design school where that you have more courses in that, if that's something you really want to pursue, but we would certainly include that. Okay, I have a stronger interest in rather than game design. Can I just focus on animation during my study? Okay, let's see. Yes, you can. I will say our current program right now has a bit of game design aspects to it. So it's not 100% animation because we like to have well-rounded students. But yes, the short answer to your question is yes, you could focus more on animation. We're going to have two streams. There'll be an animation stream and a game design stream, but you should expect to take some classes. And I should just mention to this person that a lot of aspects in game production and animation production are very similar. And behind this question, you might be uncomfortable with scripting or some of the more technical aspects of game design, but you'll find that in 3D production, even 2D production, learning how to script and do a bit of coding is becoming normal in today's work production methods. Okay. All right. So yeah. All right. So when will okay. So good afternoon. I'd like to ask, what do we need to make our own animation? Do we need to make our own animation for the game portfolio? The shorter answer is no, you don't, but it definitely helps. So I would encourage people to have animation or games in their portfolio if possible. If that's not possible, then try and do something similar that demonstrates talent. When will the interview be held for non-JUPAS students? Okay, I'm seeing it will be what?
3 years later.
Oh, it's going to be 3 years later. Okay, for the game design fellow. If you're asking about this year, do we have our non-JUPAS for AMA concentration only? Okay.
I think they are asking for game design.
Okay, forget. Okay, so you said when will the interviews be held for non-JUPAS students? And so for non-JUPAS students, that means that you would enter into the program at year 3. And since the program is going to start year 1 next year, it'll be 2024.
So we still have the AMA concentration.
Yes. Yes.
JUPAS.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if you're interested in joining the Animation Media Arts program, you can still do that this year. And do we know what time it is, when the interviews are approximately taking place for non-JUPAS? Do we have that scheduled yet?
Start to receive application.
Okay.
So we will have our interview around March.
Around March. Okay. So for the current year, so essentially if you're a non-JUPAS student, you want to come into our program next year, around March is when we'll hold the non-JUPAS interviews. Okay. Thank you, Carmen. Seminar is not started yet. I think we have our answer. It's started. Okay. Okay. Okay, the chat room. Okay, let's see. Oh, I see. Let's see. I can't. Oh, do we need to have works in both 3 areas? It's okay if there's only 1 or 2 of them. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I noticed the second one first. Okay. So, must an application be fluent in Chinese? I believe no. Our medium of instruction is English. So if you don't know Chinese, that's okay. I don't know Chinese, unfortunately. So, and I've done just fine. Do we need to have works in both 3 areas? Is the quota if there's only 1 to 2 of them? Yes, that's fine. When we interview people, we don't expect high school students to have these amazing, you're a high school student and most of what you do in high school is not game or animation work. So you may get a few projects here and there. We're looking for one good thing that shows potential is what we really want to see. It's great to see animation and game design. So if you like game design, just try a game. If you like an animation, try an animation. Otherwise show creativity. Okay. All right, so I'm going to see what language does the interview take place in? English. Can I take courses of other departments like music, humanity, even computer science, AI? Yes, definitely you can. We have a lot of elective courses, and we're also partnering with the different the history department has offered a number of electives for our students to get into the history of art and animation and gaming and various creative pursuits. Okay. How is the career of the graduating students? Well, I think they're doing well. We have a lot of students that have found work in their field. A lot of it is freelance. I have one of my former students just came back to give a talk, and she was working at the Wall Street Journal as a motion designer animator. And now she's just left to form her own company. And that was somebody who's just a recent graduate. So she's probably been out of school maybe 3 or 4 years. There are other stories like that as well. And I often actually, and just another, I'm actually have a grant, and I'm trying to find former students and alumni for a little project I'm doing inside here. And I've had a couple people turn me down because they have work already. Okay, let's see. I've got 2 columns of questions here. So let's see. I'll go to the blue ones first. All right, let's see. Does this course have an exchange program? Yes, it does. That's all right. How many pieces of artwork do we need to put in the portfolio? I would say try to keep it to 2 to 3 good ones. And this I'll just kind of touch in is a common mistake I see in interviews where people go into long detail about these projects, and we only have 5 minutes to see what you've done. So sometimes people will have like a giant sketchbook of drawings, and they'll start showing every single one. I would say if you have a sketchbook, show like some really strong pieces at first. If you have an animation, show your animation. It's better just to have about, I would say, a handful, maybe if you can count them on your hand, of strong pieces, 5 really strong pieces tops. It would be my advice, right? Yes, if you have a sketchbook of 10 great drawings, you can do that, but we don't have time for like 5, all these like 20 pieces. There just isn't time. I'm an AD student, advanced diploma, I guess. May I ask, if the current course I'm studying is not related to animation, can you still apply for this course? All right.
I think it's associate degree.
Associate degree. Okay, so I'm not sure. Okay, I'd like to know what AD means to give you a better answer, but if you're not studying what's related to animation, of course you can still apply. Again, the majority of our students, we don't expect them to have any animation training at all. It's just not offered in Hong Kong high schools. So we can't expect people to have an animation background, right? Even for people that are and that same principle applies for the non-JUPA students, right? A lot of the non-JUPA students do go to technical schools and they get some technical training in 3D and they come with a technical head start. But it's not required. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let's see what's going on here. All right, so we've done that. Any other questions? No. All right, we still have 78 people. I guess I'm waiting for those 78 people. If we there's still 10. All right, okay, there we go. Now I got a question. Is it difficult to pick up the study if I enter the program for senior entry? I haven't noticed a dramatic difference. So I can't say students, I can't say that I haven't noticed. So what I'm saying is I hear from a lot of year 3 students, and I've yet to hear somebody say, oh, I really had hard time catching up. It is a little bit of a mix, right? I think senior year entry students already have a background. And so they come to our program fairly prepared for college. They understand how to work in a college system. And some of them, not all of them, have a fair amount of technical experience. I would say sometimes you get a person that doesn't have technical experience coming in, and they might be intimidated by the people that do have technical experience. But at the same time, I'd say the people that have technical experience, sometimes they don't have the creative experience. And so they may struggle with creative aspects of them, which are equally important. Again, we are a liberal arts school. We are not a technical training school. So I'm hoping that people that come here for senior year placement, even if they are fairly technically savvy, are looking for a little more education on the artistic side of things. Okay, what are the approximate marks for the HKDSE program? 20. This year, the mean was 24. I visited the program structure on the website. It seems there are quite a number of programming and math courses. Would it be very difficult for a virtual art student? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by virtual art. Some of these programming and math courses, there are a few of them, but the more advanced ones will be for the gaming stream, I believe. So our intention is that some of the people that go into the visual art students. So again, people that, if you're an animation student and you want to get into our program and you're not interested, I'm assuming the visual arts student is not going to be applying for game design. But if it is some, you do need to have some degree of mathematical thinking for gaming. Gaming does involve programming and mathematical skills. I would also say, though, that animation production touches on that as well. Maybe not as much as game, but there's an element of scripting and having having things trigger lots of logical functions and triggering elements. So essentially, a simple idea is just simply that if you were a robot and let's say I'm a robot character and I bend my arm and there's some sort of spinning wheel on my elbow. Well, it's a lot easier to make a script that when I bend my arm and there's a certain angle, this wheel will spin. That's just a simple example, but there are elements of animation production that involve programming and logic and setting up your files in a mathematical way. So I hope that's answered your question. If I'm bad at visual arts drawing, is there a chance I could get admitted to the program? Yes, there is. Again, not all animation involves drawing. So some motion graphics can, borrow art. A lot of 3D production does involve other skills. So we do have a drawing course. But traditional, and a lot of our students really like traditional 2D animation, but you don't have to do that. It helps, but you will still get admitted if you show creativity in other areas and potential in other areas. Let's see. Can still answer questions. We kind of waited for a little while, and then people thought, oh, here we go. Okay, may I ask you, which do you think is more important for animation, technical skills or telling a story? Definitely telling a story. Technical skills can come and go. But people that can apply those technical skills to serve a story, that's very important. And that's actually seen as, believe it or not, hiring people feel that's more valuable, believe it or not. Now, it may seem differently to you when you're starting out because you're trying to make something and you can tell that technically it's not on the level of professional productions. But at some point it's easy, it becomes fairly straightforward to master the technical, but having the sort of soft skills to apply your techniques and creativity to a story and a larger purpose is very important. That's very valuable. We will be using game engines, Unity and Unreal. Since I don't have a game programming background myself, I'm leaving the particulars to other faculty members, but from what I know, we will generally be using Unity or Unreal. I don't believe there's a requirement to write your own games, but there probably may be some assignments that in the programming oriented classes that do have you write your own game. But by and large, what I'm hearing in the discussions are that they're going to generally align Unity or Unreal. Will you get a chance for the interview if your GPA is not good, but your portfolio is good? Probably not. I'm hearing it depends on the score, not the GPA, but the if you're a non-JUPAS student, that is going to be hard. If you have a good JUPAS score, it may not be high, but you have a good portfolio. So essentially, if your academic level there's a certain academic level to get admitted, right? From that point, the academic factor is still important, but your portfolio can help offset that. But I've got to be very candid. Generally, it's weighted fairly heavily towards the GPA. Yeah, so make sure you've got the minimum requirements so you don't waste time. But if you've got a strong portfolio, that can help. what animation softwares are mostly used in the program. So generally we use Maya and the Adobe Suite. Cinema 4D is starting to creep in. A lot of students use Blender. In a lot of ways, we don't require students to use any particular program, but we can only support in our labs a few software packages. So those packages are generally industry standard. So it's Adobe Creative Suite, that's After Effects, Photoshop, Premiere. There's also Audition. I haven't worked with the sound design program. And then we use Maya as our 3D program, and there's growing interest in Cinema 4D. What is the minimum GPA requirement for year 3 study? And again, 3.1. Will I be taught to use like AI InDesign Blender programs for animation, or is it expected that we know how to use them already? We will teach you that to a degree, but generally, like I teach the motion graphics class, so I can speak to this. I give a bit of training in After Effects and design. And we do have some basic classes that teach the fundamentals of the software. We try not to be too much of a training class and just get the basics down, and let you, and we try to teach you workflows more than a specific program. If I don't know if you understand the difference, but essentially with 3D modeling, there is, well, with AI, it's vector graphics. So we would teach you vector graphics in After Effects, but our approach is more about how you can use vector graphics. So if Adobe Illustrator is not popular in 5 to 10 years from now, you still understand how to make art using those techniques. All right. If I want to work on 2D computer graphics and concept art of game design after graduation, is this course suitable for me? So you want to do 2D computer graphics or concepts of art of game design? Yes, I think so. Again, it's hard for me to know exactly what your goals are. So what I'd say is you will learn we give students a lot of flexibility. We are not a concept art program. I should also say concept art might be popular, but I have to tell you, it's generally a very hard field to get into, and you have to have astounding abilities as an illustrator. So if you have your heart set on concept art, I would say this is probably, and that's your specific goal, that is probably not, you're probably better off in a technical training program. If you want, again, 2D computer graphics or concepts of art, I think where our strengths would be is that you are getting a university degree. You will have more of the conceptual thinking, and that will help you out. Right. So it's about how to tell a story, how to evoke images and get ideas across through visuals. Do we have a theme limit of artwork when we are doing the portfolio? I'm not sure what you mean by theme limit, but we generally try and give students free rein. Obviously, the environment has changed and there are things that are not allowed anymore. But overall, if you want to do 2D animation, you can do that. If you want to do a fantasy piece, you can do a fantasy piece. If you want to do something gritty and realistic, we have topics all over the place from our students. So we have everything from anime to like 3D graphics. We have cute, sweet, romantic pieces. We have dark horror stories, stuff about cats, stuff about dogs on spaceships, wide variety of themes. So that'd be my answer. Was it my imagination? It was 57 and jumped up to 66. Like 10 people came in simultaneously. Okay. Does the program offer internships to students? Yes. What we do have some internships. So we have we're developing them in different ways. But yes. 3.1 for the GPA. And then for JUPAS, the mean is around, our mean was, what was it? It was 20 AMA only. So it's a little bit different. So
No, I think it's the same.
it's the same. So it's about 24. Is it the best 6 for HKDSE?
That's fine.
Best 5. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, okay, wow. Oh, those are old questions. Which companies are the students doing the internship? Well, we had one company we had from last summer, which I'm not sure if it's going to happen this summer or not, is what was with Stanford University. So that was like a pilot program. We also have various local companies that come up. I'm developing, a lot of times these internships come up briefly and on an ad hoc basis. So we're trying to develop these internships to be a little more regular, but we don't have like every summer we have a specific company that people can go into internships with. I'm working on a relationship with something called FDMT, and they do marketing for universities here, and that may be a more ongoing relationship. But a lot of companies and studios are interested in working with our students, and these often come up over the summer, during the summer months. What? Okay, any weighted score? What can you elaborate? What do you mean by weighted score? Let's see. Well, that person's there. I'm not sure what the weighted score. I'll wait for the weighted score. All right. So what type of portfolio grabs your attention the most? Okay. Well, there's probably their portfolios that grab our attention good ways and bad ways. So I can tell you about both. Generally, portfolios that grab our attention are something where the student did it on their own outside of classes. And they even if it's rough, it shows a lot of effort and determination. And it tells me this student can take the initiative. They have the patience to be an animator, a game designer. They will keep on going when things get difficult, and they will finish something. So, so that alone gets my attention. and a completed animation piece that they did themselves that's original stands out, even if it's extremely rough, even if there are a lot of problems with the technique or the story or what have you. If it's original and they did it themselves, that would stand out the most in a good way. If it has originality and cleverness, that's another big plus. So those are the ways to stand out in a good way, right? A lot of times things that don't stand out there's also the in-between stuff, which is just sort of typical that doesn't stand out. Which is, I hate to say, it's kind of like a lot of times people do anime style drawings, right? So we see a lot of anime style drawings. So if it's sort of like or very simplistic motion graphics where it just feels like you put some circles and squares together and made some very basic animations, or even used a template. So if your style is very similar to stuff we've seen already, or it seems like it was just done with a template, that's not going to stand out. It still shows us that you're interested and you can try and do stuff, but it wouldn't grab our attention in a good way compared to the other examples. Something that could stand out in a bad way would be when I see students, oftentimes students do the goodbye, the classroom finale. So I know a very common high school student is that somebody who likes to do film wants to say goodbye to their school year. And so we watch these tribute videos where I watch students make a film with all their classmates going around to sentimental music. And it's sort of like watching a family movie. It's even though it's important to you and your friends, I don't know these people, and we see a lot of them, and it just kind of gets boring. It's sort of like watching kids videos from one of your relatives, and it's their baby, but it's not your baby, and it just kind of gets a little boring. Another thing that stands out in a bad way would be if somebody only does film and they have no animation at all. And so then I start to wonder, did they apply to the right program? Are they really going to stick with us when it's time to learn game programming, or the technical aspects of 3D animation, or the details of After Effects and assembling artwork together? So if I see somebody that just, they basically have like kung fu fight scenes with their friends, and it's a really good movie, and it looks like they're a great person for film and television department, I'd suggest they go there. So that's sort of hopefully that helps you guys out. Good question. May I ask, what's the lower quartile of your admission score for last year's JUPAS application? Lower quartile. So the minimum was, we could tell the minimum, what? Lower quartile. Yeah. So it probably, the minimum was 19. I don't know if that's lower quartile, but that's what we had. Actually, I don't know if the person who asked about portfolio standing out in a bad way, but I might as well tell people if they're still listening. Sometimes we can see two people from the same school have the same project in their portfolio. So in the morning, we'll see this kung fu fighting in Stanley, and then we'll see the exact same movie in the afternoon, and we'll wonder who did what. So make sure that when you work on a group project, you credit yourself properly, because another one of your teammates could be applying as well, and we might see the same work. Would there be only very few quota for year 3 entry? Very few is subjective. So our quota is about, last year we admitted 14. Every year will be a little bit different. Okay. Does the program receive students by new school nominations direct admissions scheme? Carmen, that's our principal nominations. I think they mean, yes, if that's, but if you mean that by this, if you mean principals nominations, yes, we do accept principals nominations. Yeah, people are leaving, dropping down still for now. Yeah, what?
I think you cannot say 5 more minutes later.
Yeah.
Then otherwise we finish our
Yeah. Virtual one. Yeah.
presentation.
Okay. So what? Okay, so we're starting to finish up here. So I'll wait about a few more minutes, maybe 5 more minutes before we close out. It seems like most of the questions have been answered, but we still have some time. Will there be any VR/AR courses? There already is a VR/AR course. So yes, there will be these courses, and there will probably be more of them or more areas to practice this. Right now, we have a class called Virtual Worlds. And this semester, this could kind of give you an idea of what are the strengths of our programs. The students in this class we were approached by the journalism school about creating virtual news sets, and we have some equipment in our 7th floor. I don't know if you've seen the communication school. I don't know what this communication school is showing you, but we have like some pretty excellent actual newsrooms that students can practice their broadcasting. So for our broadcasting students, and we have a virtual set. So our virtual worlds course is making virtual newsroom sets for the journalism students, and they're collaborating right now. Last year when we did this, there was an art project called Another World, I believe, and they made digital assets for this larger project. It could change into something else, but yes, we do have VR/AR already. And with the new game program, this can only expand. Thank you for the question. Now we still have a little time for a few more. Will there be a lot of students to have internship overseas, since many game companies like Riots are located in the US or CH? Is that China? China. We don't have, most of the internships we have are local, so we don't have anything to set up an international internship. We do have this Stanford project, which was done virtually, and there is potential to do that, but we don't have a lot of companies that we can integrate students with. So yes, there are a lot of the big companies are abroad, right? So that's, again, if you have a strong portfolio, you can make your way to these big studios. It's extremely competitive, but a good portfolio is a good portfolio, and that will help all over the world. So, and also you can make your own company. I think a larger thing in Hong Kong is that there's a lot of smaller studios. And so again, I think another question I'd add, something you should consider is trying to get into one of these big major studios can be extremely competitive. But if you're interested in working in gaming, there's probably a lot of opportunities locally with less famous companies. And personally, in my career, I've found it more rewarding to work for smaller companies because you get a lot more creative freedom and flexibility. A lot of times these big places, like these big budget games, the pressure's on, and you may have a very small role in a very large organization. And I can say that from experience. You know, I worked at MTV and Microsoft, and we got to those companies, you really could not make major changes in direction. It was very difficult, and it became very you had to deal with the power struggle aspects of it. Whereas if you work with a small independent company, it's much more flexible, loose. They're much more receptive to your ideas. There's a lot less power struggle happening. So that would be my brief answer. probably better to have a conversation with that person with audio than to do a chat. So if that person wants to speak up, I could talk further, but yes. All right. Well, I think we might have time for one more question if we get it fairly soon. Otherwise, I think we're going to need to start wrapping up. Can apply year 3 entry this coming year? Yes, but not for the game design. Not for the
For animation.
animation and media arts only. When can I apply for a year 3 entry for game? That would be in 2024, 3 years later. So again, we're going to start year 1. We'll start next year and it'll be 2024. Now you should consider that there are some game and animation design is being expanded. So again, you could, if you don't want to wait that long, you can take animation and media arts, and we do have students doing game projects. So you can take a look at our current curriculum. It may not be what you ideal for you, but if you really want to get started and not wait that long, which I assume that be the case, you could take our animation media arts program. Can I learn something about 3D modeling in this course? Definitely. That is our main focus. A lot of our students like 2D. It's very popular, but the reality of the industry is that it's 3D. And even if you do 2D artwork, more and more, they're using 3D tools to create it, and then they make it look like 3D. So you'll definitely learn about 3D modeling in this course. What is the recommend length of an animation if I made one? Aha. Okay, well, it's not exactly about time. There's sort of this saying, no bad movie was too short and no good movie is too long. That said, for student projects, if you go more than 5 minutes for your honors project, it's really too long for a small production team to do very well. It's possible to have 1 minute pieces that are absolutely brilliant. But generally it would probably be roughly about between 2 to 5 minutes is what we aim for in our final graduate projects. It's more about quality than a specific length of time. And again, it's and also the length of time is not always how easy it is to make. There's some Hollywood shots that are 10 seconds long. Like if you've seen one of these Marvel movies, and they're $1 million productions with huge teams working on them, and the shot might last 10 seconds. Can I make stop motion animation for the portfolio? Yes, I love stop motion. We don't have very much of it, and for whatever reason, we doing, if somebody wants to do stop motion, but I think stop motion would be a fantastic thing to do for the portfolio. I don't think I've only seen a few bits of stop motion in students' work that they submit to us, so that would definitely stand out, and in a good way. And in general, any technique you do for animation is fine if it shows that you can you take the initiative and you finish some sort of project, even if it's very simple. So I think your question about is it okay to do stop motion, I would just simply say do something in animation and make it as good as you can with whatever tools you have to do, because that will help you more than worrying about, oh, we only want 3D. We're really looking for talent and ability to get things done in the interview process, not specific types of animation. Is there any subject weighting? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Is that for the interview process or in the program? Could you elaborate, please? Guess we'll wait to see what that person meant by subject weighting, and then that might be our last question, unless somebody comes in with a one. Are they typing? Are you pointing? Yeah, we're running out of time, so that person can elaborate about subject weighting. And if somebody sneaks in something else, we can do it, but that's going to probably be our last question. Will I learn computer graphic arts in this program? Yes. Again, graphic arts. Again, we have media arts. We have motion graphics classes. You would learn design thinking. There are going to be a few foundation courses about design thinking and the 2D programs like Illustrator, Photoshop, and 3D production. We're not a design program, though. So if you're looking for something that's like graphic design or fine arts or production like that, you may, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're a motion graphics designer, there'd probably be enough to have you focus on, but there will be a fair number of 3D production and game and scripting classes for this. And it won't be like, if you're looking for an ad agency type work or marketing materials, there's a lot in here, but it's not the main focus for our program. So you may want to just look at our course offerings and compare it to other schools and see if we're a good fit for you. It's not like SCAD. Okay. And I think that's our last course, unless the person who's waiting, was there any possibility? This is our last thing. We can directly get into senior year of game design, well, you can do it directly in 2024, but not this year. So there's no possibility. If your question is, can I do it this year to get into game design? This year, no. But like I said previously, there are some game courses in animation media arts, so you could apply this year. And I think that's about it. So thank you for your questions, really good questions, and hope to see you next year.